Supposed to be a place where small retailers can come to take advantage of a big organization's buying power, all for the cost of a membership.
I can save money, I can save costs in today's market. You've got to save costs.
Take it over there, don't bring it back to me.
But Costco also sells memberships to any consumer who falls into the right categories. And the categories are so loose, they include just about everybody. That puts the wholesale store into the retail game.
We're always asked the question, from whom do we take our business? And the answer is we don't know, because it's spread over such a wide base because we carry so many products.
Most of the people who came to the first day of shopping were just ordinary consumers looking for a bargain. The store claims to sell 10 to 30% less than other discount stores because of its low overhead.
It's a more efficient way of merchandising and merchandising standardized products.
Once a commander of the now defunct Imperial Navy and former chief of the Defense Agency, he urged his nation to strengthen its defenses.
In the United States, the so-called wholesale clubs have cut substantially into retail businesses. A major concern is that could also happen in Canada.
After the results were announced, Nakasone immediately named the men for major posts in his new cabinet. A foreign ministry official said Nakasone will meet President Reagan.
The store in Greater Vancouver is the first in Canada, but in 2 weeks another will open in Edmonton. A competitor is planning similar stores in eastern Canada. The new stores might take a lesson from the opening day here in British Columbia. An overflow parking problem made it a field day for the RCMP. What some people saved inside the store, they spent outside on parking tickets.
This one to a disabled New Jersey police officer. But this weekend, federal and local police seized these vehicles and others after their occupants allegedly purchased cocaine and other drugs. The war against drugs, especially the crack form of cocaine, is heating up.
Not only is there a possibility that they will be arrested and prosecuted, there is also a very serious possibility that they will lose their vehicles.
The message that I want to leave today is if you come to New York to buy crack, bring car fare and be prepared to take the bus back.
In New York, the drug problem is epidemic. City officials say cocaine arrests are up 60% over last year. Watching a buy is easy.
He just had another sale right there.
There are so many people awaiting trial and so many who have been convicted on drug charges that New York's mayor has proposed building 2 so-called prison camps. Camps that could house up to 10,000 people. New York's drug clinics are overflowing. Just 3 months ago, treatment centers reported that they were filled and struggling to avoid turning people away. Today, crack addicts have to deal with a 6-month waiting list.
This is the first time in
our
existence.
As you already know, this is the first day for the cable news network, and we thought you might like to see where we live and some of our facilities. So here's a tour of CNN with Chris Pearl and Don
They're going to wind up either in jail, they're going to wind up in the street, or they're going to wind up dead.
Victims in a
It's here
war
in
that
master
will claim
control
many
that the
more
signals
victims,
from all
drug
those
experts
dishes
say,
become
before
pictures
the
and
government's
sound.
new
It's
crusade
here that
launched
they're all
today
transformed
really
into
gets
the
off the
people
ground.
and into the
Harold
programs
Dow,
that you'll see
CBS
here
News,
on the news
New
channel.
York.
And one of the busiest people here is our satellite manager, Phil
hijacked the minibus, taking them to court and
We're very
escaped, are
busy
still
here
on the
because
run
we have
tonight.
access to
Police
any
say the
signal
men
transmitted
shouldn't be
via a
approached.
domestic
They got away
satellite,
while
which
the
is
bus
as many
was
as
traveling
98
from
in any
Canterbury
given
Prison
time.
to
We
Tunbridge
have
Wells
20
Court.
receivers here,
They
so we can
abandoned the
tune
bus
into
and their
as many as
escort
20
village in
signals
South London.
simultaneously.
Tonight, the
That
civilian
we'll have
driver
access
to
to
the
anywhere in the
northwest
house here at
said he put up
CNN.
no resistance when the men made their break. I wasn't going to get my head bashed in for nothing, he said. Jones Arquette reports.
And try to put together
the
the
minibus
actual
was
pieces
found
you
just
see
before
on the
lunch,
air
abandoned
on
in a
Cable
car
News
park
Network.
beneath
The
a
man in
block of
charge here
flats
is
in
Ted
Woolwich,
Kavanaugh. Ted, I'm
with the
sorry.
prison
How do you
officers
do?
and the
How do you
driver
put together
handcuffed
here?
together
So we have
and
a
to
pool
the
of producers
seats.
here. Each one
The
does
prisoners,
2
all
hour
4
shows.
charged
1
with
hour
armed
show, then
robbery,
4 hours
were
up,
being
another
taken in
hour
a hired minibus from Canterbury Prison in Kent to the Magistrates Court at Tunbridge Wells for a remand hearing.
Good evening. At 10 tonight,
Just
we'll talk
outside
with someone who
Sittingbourne
knows
on
the
the
man
M2
accused of
motorway,
killing the
they
parents of
overpowered the
Dallas star
officers and
Patrick
ordered the
Duffy.
driver to stop.
Dr. Joanna Shaw
After getting
reports
the
on how
keys
vets
to
are
their
treating dogs
handcuffs,
and cats
they
with
bundled their
cancer.
captives into the
Jim
back
Ryan
and
reports
drove
one
on
of
to
the top
Woolwich.
finishers in the New York City Marathon
It's not clear
had a
exactly
positive
how they
drug
got
test.
control. The
Stu
police will
reviewed the
only
movie
say there
version of
wasn't
the
a
ballet,
struggle.
The Nutcracker.
The escape
Plus Carl
happened
White
in
is all
broad
the
daylight,
sports
but
to
no
the
one
Russian
appears
space
to have
facility
seen the
in
bus
October
going
of
into the car
86.
park
The
or
goal
the
of the
prisoners
historic
making their
exchange
getaway.
is to further
They simply
scientific and
disappeared
cultural
into the maze of
cooperation
flats.
between the two countries.
Police
I've been
officers
to outer
spent most of
space,
the
and I've
afternoon
had a
talking to the
chance to
prison
look at
officers
our
and the
planet
bus
from
driver.
high above,
At first, it
and
was
I've
thought
made
that
the
a car
conclusion
had
that
followed
it is
the
very
bus,
small
and the
and very
prisoners made their
fragile.
getaway in
So
that.
we've got to learn
Now,
and
the
live
police
in
say that
peace.
seems
Local
unlikely.
high school journalism
Joan
students
Thurkett,
joined
News
Space
at
Center
10
news
in
representatives
Woolwich.
in questioning the visitors.
Prince Charles says he hopes Britain's police will stay unarmed. He was speaking in the Midlands less than a fortnight after
The young
blank shots
cosmonauts
were
who appear
fired
to
near
be
the
enjoying
Queen.
their visit
The
will head
Prince
for
said,
Epcot
long
Center
may it
tomorrow.
last
Then
in
it's
this
off to
country that
more
we have a
space tours
police
at
force
Marshall in
that is
Alabama
not armed and
Johnson
goes
Space
about its
Center in
duty in
Houston.
such a splendid and friendly way.
That's our report. Thanks
Every
for joining
time
us.
you
I'm
return
Dave
from an
Walker.
overseas
Around the
visit,
world
he
in 30
said,
minutes.
I
This is
thank God
Headline News.
I'm British. Tonight, the Prince and Lady Diana were in London's West End for the royal premiere of the latest James Bond film, For Your Eyes Only. Martin Lewis was there too.
Cape Horn, graveyard for countless sailors. But for Jacques and Jean-Michel Cousteau, it's the ultimate test of their revolutionary windship, the Alcyon. For you, it's the ultimate adventure. Come with the world's greatest explorers as they rediscover a far corner of the world teeming with life, but riddled with risks.
Kill them if we have to.
The rats are not reported inside any of the stores, but officials fear that could be next because the rats are moving closer to buildings, but not just for food, also for warmth now that it's getting cooler. So rats are becoming problems around homes that have never seen rats before. Officials warn against leaving anything edible outside this time of year, dog food, cat food, even bird seed. And by all means, they urge, put garbage only in tightly sealed cans. Roger?
Doctors and nurses at Baptist Medical Center in Brooklyn trying to cope with a strike. 400 service personnel, including the cooks, people in the linen rooms, the therapists, have walked off their jobs. Bob Lape is now at that center with the most recent developments.
Roger, it's not a lifeline, but a picket line outside Baptist Medical Center here on Linden Boulevard in East New York. All of it caused by a cash flow problem. This has left 420 hospital workers outside Baptist Medical Center in Brooklyn for 3 days. The hospital is awaiting state and Blue Cross payments of more than $1 million and asked its service employees to take a temporary cut to 4-day, 28-hour work weeks.
And on Monday morning, we told them that we were willing to work 5 days because under the contract. They say they will not do it, therefore they're calling the police and they escort us out. So we are officially locked down.
We have not locked them out. Any person who wants to come back to work is totally welcomed
In London, a $3
to
million
immediately
reward
come
is
back
being
to
offered
work.
for information leading to
One at a
time or 400 at a time?
400 of them.
Byram calls it an illegal strike. 144 says it's a lockout. The pickets have blocked deliveries and broken a window or two. There is passion among the people.
If they don't have the money to pay us 5 days pay what our legal contract calls for, how can they hire outside help to work inside there and pay them? They don't get IOUs, they get paid just like we do.
How are the patients making out without you?
Well, they're being taken care of, too. You know, we are humanitarians, but we're fighting for our rights.
Inside the hospital, the rule is carry on as RNs, LPNs, administrators, and other non-union personnel take up the slack in many different ways.
And John Jansen.
And if you are just joining us, NBC News about
And just to emphasize the nature of the enemy, one of these fusiliers was sporting a Russian uniform.
We are projecting more states.
Then it was back to the wall, laying a wreath to those who died trying to get across. And then a final view of the scene near the Brandenburg Gate. What purpose had this visit served?
It reinforces the point which anyone who holds my job knows, that we're here to defend the peace and freedom of the West. There's going to be a lot of protests in the West in the course of the next couple of days. There'll be marching and protests, but this is the point at which the marching has to stop. There aren't going to be any marches or protests over there. You've only got to stand here to understand why. The interesting thing is that the very success of the policies that the various governments of the NATO alliance have pursued for 37 years has not only kept our freedom, but it's kept the freedom of people to march and protest. That's one of the privileges of a free democratic society.
NATO has formally endorsed President Reagan's latest proposal for limiting nuclear missiles, but there's still no official reaction from the Soviet Union. Moscow radio has called it an old idea in a new wrapping. The Americans had suggested the two sides should have an equal number of missiles, instead of insisting on their zero option. The Soviet leadership has been commemorating the death of Karl Marx rather than commenting on the proposal. But despite Mr. Andropov's silence, the plan has been criticized by Soviet commentators for excluding British and French nuclear weapons and only covering land-based missiles. The Soviet Union says these would have to be taken into consideration in any new agreement. President Reagan is expected to launch another attack on the Soviet military build-up in a speech in Los Angeles in about half an hour's time. It's thought he'll criticize the nuclear freeze movement for undermining arms control negotiations. British shipbuilders say nearly